palette of dreams brushed against every word. Now they fade like old postcards, their edges worn, their brightness slipping away. You once wore courage in vivid blue, and I hope in the softest green. We painted mornings with laughter and shaded nights with silent prayers. But seasons bled through the borders, and rain fell harder than we knew how to shelter. I see you now through the filter of memories, like light bending through a cracked glass. Every hue we crafted together now whispers from a distance, half forgotten but still aching. The colors of us, where have they gone? Washed out by time or hidden deep in the folds of what we couldn't say. I carry the echoes of our palette, even when it fades into a colorless sky. Maybe love was never meant to stay bright. Maybe it was meant to blur, to remind us that even the most vivid things fade, and that's what makes them beautiful. I trace the outlines we left behind, invisible to others, but still burning quietly in my hands. Rain traced the outlines of all we couldn't say. Each drop a color we tried and failed to hold. Our voices dissolved into the mist, leaving only the brushstrokes of goodbye. We walked under skies, the color of forgetting, your hand almost reaching but never quite. The street shimmered in bruised purples and broken gold, and I wish the rain could wash the distance away. But every step drew new borders between us, invisible but heavier than words. I still remember the colors of that night, the blue of your sadness, the red you swallowed in silence, the gray I wore to hide my trembling in the rain, relentless, painting everything with blurred regret. If only we could mix our broken colors, blend them into something new, a shade no storm could erase, but the palette we shared dissolved in the rain, and I never learned how to catch it. Maybe some colors are meant to be lost, meant to bleed into the earth so we can grow something softer next time. Still on nights like this, I trace those hues in the dark. We were artists without a map, and the rain was our last canvas. There's a sadness in yellow streetlights, the way they blur the edges of everything we tried to hold. In their glow, I almost see you, almost remember what we were trying to save. We used to dance through the brightness, winding through city corners lit like gold dreams. You laughed in bursts of gold. I chased your light without knowing it was already fading. Even the strongest colors fracture under time, no matter how tightly we clutch them. Tonight the world hums in broken hues. I walk alone through patches of yellow and shadow, thinking of how love used to paint the spaces between us. Now those spaces are louder than anything we ever said, louder than the promises we tried to keep. Under yellow light, I see all the places we couldn't reach. Every goodbye we never said, every color we let slip through our tired hands, and still somehow I smile. Maybe not all colors are meant to last. Maybe some are meant to shine once, to warm us just long enough to survive the cold. In the blur of yellow lights and memories, I still find pieces of you and pieces of who I used to be. Some skies are meant to be blue, others bleed with the orange of letting go. Tonight, the sky above me is every color of goodbye we never spoke. The pink of unsent messages, the violet of hesitations, the deep blue where regrets settle like stars. I walk beneath it all, carrying a heart that still tries to color the silence. There were moments when our love lit up the sky burned brighter than the city below. But every fire needs air and we forgot how to breathe for each other. Now the sky holds the words we abandoned, smeared across its endless canvas. Under this painted sky, I feel closer to you than I ever did when you're here. Every color, a brushstroke of what we could have been. And even as it fades, I'm grateful we once dared to dream in color. Maybe goodbye is a color too, a shade only those who have loved deeply can see. And maybe that's enough. Tonight I walk under a sky painted in goodbye, and somehow I'm still looking up. Under this painted sky, I feel closer to you than I ever did when you were here. Every color, a brushstroke of what we could have been. And even as it fades, I'm grateful we once dared to dream in color. Maybe goodbye is a color too, a shade only those who have loved deeply can see. Maybe that's enough. Tonight I walk under a sky painted in goodbye, and somehow I'm still looking up. Ooh, somewhere between the blues and the grays, we left words we were too tired to speak. The colors between us once whispered promises we forgot how to keep. You used to wear mornings in soft orange, and I carried evenings in muted violet. In the spaces between our days, tiny hopes bloomed unseen, like wildflowers growing in cracks. Now the colors between us have dimmed, muted by all the almost and nevermores. I try to trace the lines we once sketched, but they crumble under the weight of time. Even colors get tired of waiting. Can you still hear the whispers in the fading hues, in the spaces too wide across? Every color between us still hums, even if only in echoes. Maybe the most beautiful promises are the ones never said aloud, the ones we carry quietly long after the colors have gone. Between your colors and mine, there's still a place where we almost believe. between your colors and mine, there's still a place where we almost believe. Not all colors shout. Some seep in like the quiet after a storm, filling the spaces we never thought were empty. We used to believe love was loud, bright flashes, wild shades. But the longer we stayed, the more we learned that love is also silent, a steady gray, a dust that lingers when all else has left. There were mornings I watched you and saw colors I didn't have names. For soft golds, tired blues, hopeful silvers, emotions too delicate for words. We painted each other with the silence only trust can build. The silence that painted us was louder than any promise. It held every apology, every forgiveness we didn't know how to say. It turned the gray days beautiful in a way only you and I understood. Maybe love isn't the fireworks, maybe it's the quiet brushstrokes only visible when we choose to stay. Even now, in the softest silences, I can still feel the colors we made. Love was never a perfect line for us. It was spilled paint, colors running wild through the spaces we forgot to protect. You moved like a brush dipped in rain, streaking across my carefully drawn life. Every moment a new shade, every silence a drip that spread farther than I could control. Still, I loved how you turned the plain into something breathing. I tried to hold you in neat borders, frame you in the safety of what I knew. But love isn't a frame picture, it's a watercolor flood seeping into places you didn't know could ache. We were drenched in watercolors, never meant to stay inside the lines. Every blur Soft, forgiving, like we could stay there forever. But nights grew heavier, the colors deepening in ways we didn't understand. Morning laughter came easy, all pink smiles and mint green hopes. You traced lazy promises across my skin, and I believed in every hue. But when the sun slipped down, the pastels turned to weight we couldn't carry. I held on to light yellows and pale blues, but you drifted into deeper shades. Navy doubts, maroon silences, storms we didn't have names. I'd wallow on to follow you there, but some colors aren't meant for two. Pastel days, heavy nights, we painted them both with it, knowing how to fix the cracks. Now when morning breaks, soft and sweet, a soul searchful for you in the colors another blur to hold on to. Maybe some loves live in daylight and crumble in the dark, and maybe that's still beautiful, even if it didn't last. Our pastel days still hum in my chest, quiet and stubborn like a song to remember. to stay, they were always just passing through. Like sunlight slipping between fingers, like a dream fading before we could name it. You wore mornings in shades of honey and gold, the kind that softened even my hardest thoughts. I held on to the brightness, fearing the day it might drift out of reach. But color was never something we could hold, only something we could witness, if we were lucky enough to notice. Yeah. I chased after the shifting tones you left behind, tangerine laughter, cobalt silences, soft shadows that stretched longer with every goodbye. Yeah. And somehow even when you stayed close, you were always moving, just a little too fast for me to catch. The colors I couldn't keep still stain the corners of my memory. They bleed into songs, into late night thoughts, into quiet mornings where I find your ghost humming inside forgotten shades. Maybe love is meant to slip away, like light that refuses to be bottled beautiful because it can't be trapped. Even now, I reach out to the empty air, fingers brushing colors only I can still see.
The night was never meant to be pure light. Carried the stains of every dream that fell short, every hope that blurred at the edges, and every goodbye we tried not to say. You painted the night with reckless reds, with sighs too heavy to hide. In dark corners, I brought my softer hues, lavender forgiveness, ocean blue yearning. Together we made a sky too full to hold, too fragile to last beyond a few desperate breaths. I wonder if you knew, as you trace crimson memories across my skin, that our colors were already bleeding into places we couldn't return from. The city lights blurred with our hearts, no longer sure where one ended and the other began. We bled our colors into the night, spilling everything we were too afraid to keep. And even now, when shadows feel endless, I still see the stains we left behind, proof that we dared to love. Maybe the night remembers us, carries our faded colors like secret songs, humming them when no one is listening. Maybe that's all we ever needed, to leave a little of ourselves in the dark. the night, spilling everything we were too afraid to keep. And even now, when shadows feel endless, I still see the stains we left behind. Proof that we dare to love. Maybe the night remembers us, carries our faded colors like secret songs, humming them when no one is listening. Or maybe that's all we ever needed, to leave a little ill of ourselves in the dark. Between every word we didn't say, colors bloomed and withered unseen. Each silence was a brushstroke, each hesitation a color slipping out of reach. You carried sunlight in your voice, while I hid midnight storms behind tired smiles. We tried to meet somewhere in between, in pastel promises and soft misunderstandings. But even pastels fade if you look away long enough, and sometimes love forgets how to stay vivid. The distance grew not in miles, but in shades we couldn't share. Your golden hopes, my bruised blues. I wanted to learn your palette, but my hands were clumsy, and the colors kept slipping through my fingers like sand. I didn't know how to hold the colors that fell between us, still stain my quiet moments. A palette too wide for either of us to cross alone. A masterpiece unfinished because we never learned to bleed into each other's hues. Maybe some colors aren't meant to mix. Maybe they're just meant to remind us how wildly beautiful separate skies can be. And even apart, our colors still light up my quietest corners. The colors that fell between us still stain my quiet moments. A palette too wide for either of us to cross alone. Maybe some colors aren't meant to mix. Masterpiece unfinished because we never learned to bleed into each other's hues. Maybe some colors aren't meant to mix. Maybe they're just colors that fall between us, still stain my quiet moments. A palette too wide for either of us to cross alone. Masterpiece unfinished because we never learned to bleed into each other's hues. Maybe some colors aren't meant to mix. Maybe they're just meant to remind us how wildly beautiful
how to listen to quiet colors, the gentle grays, the patient lilacs. Underneath your stillness there were embers, wild and bright, waiting for someone brave enough to notice. All-consuming and loud, but you showed me the slow-burning kind, the kind that survives the longest nights, the kind that colors the edges of everything, even if no one else sees it flicker. In muted skies you hid the fiercest fires in whispered words. You carried the boldest dreams, and I, too blind to look close enough, almost missed the way you loved. Maybe true colors don't scream. Maybe they live in the quiet, in the steady flames that never ask for applause. Now under every soft gray sky, I look for the fires you left behind. Sometimes love doesn't paint over cracks, it lets them stay, so new colors can bloom from the places we thought were broken. You taught me that broken things still glow, that a chip cup can still hold warmth, that a faded photograph still hums with life in your quiet way. You showed me how love wasn't about perfect pictures, but about finding beauty in the cracks, about letting colors slip through and take root. There were days when we barely spoke, but even then the silence was painted in soft shades of trust. You smiled through your doubts and I tried fumbling to answer with colors of my own colors, messy and uncertain but real. In the cracks between us something tender grew, new hues we never dared to mix before, new dreams we were too afraid to name. Even broken spaces can be
love isn't about fixing the cracks. Maybe it's about planting something bright within them and watching it bloom.
I still carry those colors with me, growing wild in all the places I once thought were ruined. Not all sadness is short. Some sadness holds like a soft blue mist, wrapping itself around the heart, reminding us that missing someone is just another way of loving them. You left, not with anger, but with a quiet kind of ache, like a slow sunset folding into night. I stood there, watching the colors slip away, feeling the weight of everything unsaid, and realizing that even sorrow could be gentle. There were days after you were gone, when blue didn't feel like drowning. It felt like remembering a softer kind of sadness, one that didn't claw or tear, but simply sat with me, patient and steady, reminding me of everything we shared. When the blues turned soft, I learned that not all endings are violent. Some drifting quietly, like a tide pulling away the footprints we left behind, making room for new ones. Maybe love doesn't end. Maybe it simply changes its colors into something quieter, something we carry forward even when we walk alone. And maybe soft blues are just love learning how to say goodbye. When the blues turn soft, I learned that not all endings are violent. Some drifting quietly, like a tide pulling away the footprints we left behind, making room for new ones. Maybe love doesn't end. Maybe it simply changes its colors into something quieter, something we carry forward even when we walk alone. And maybe soft blues are just love learning how to say goodbye.
We began with matching strokes, hopeful reds, laughing yellows, fearless greens. Side by side we'd brush sunrise after sunrise across each other's walls. But as the days stretched, your lines curved toward distant skies, and mine stayed tangled in familiar corners. We tried to paint bridges between us, mixing colors too quickly, layering promises over cracks we never repaired. And when the canvas grew heavy with all our trying, it began to tear quietly at first, like a small rip no one wants to admit they see. Ours was a canvas too wide for two. We needed more hands, more patience, more time than either of us knew how to give. Still, the colors we dared to lay down, they mattered, even if the masterpiece was never finished. Maybe loving someone isn't always about completing the picture. Sometimes it's about daring to start it all. And in the unfinished swirls and half-drawn dreams, I still find pieces of us. Some colors don't fade, they soften, growing gentler with every passing year, like old letters or hands that once trembled, now resting easy. The bright reds of first kisses, the electric blues of late night promises, they've blurred into something quieter now, something kinder. I don't reach for them with the same hunger, but I still feel them hum beneath my skin, like a song I hum without thinking. There were shades we fought to hold on to, colors so vivid we thought they'd save us. But even the fiercest hues mellow with memory, turning soft at the edges, becoming part of the landscape of who we are. The colors worn soft with time still belong to us, not as trophies but as quiet companions, walking with us through the quieter seasons of our lives. Maybe last in love isn't fireworks, it's the echo of every color that stayed even when it no longer shouted. And even now, under the softer skies of today, I still carry the colors you gave me.
like songs we once knew by heart, but now hum only in pieces. You and I once spoke in bright tones, bold oranges, reckless blues, fearless violets. Every look, every word, a new splash of color across an endless canvas. But life, like rain, wore down the vibrancy, leaving only soft outlines of what we used to be.
There were colors I promised never to forget. The green of your restless dreams, the golden threads you stitched into my quiet days. I keep them now, not as paintings hung proudly on walls, but as whispers tucked inside the spaces that still ache for you. The echo of forgotten colors still rings in quiet moments, still colors the spaces between my breath. Even when I forget the shape of your voice, I remember the colors we created.
Maybe some loves aren't meant to be remembered clearly. Maybe they're meant to hum softly, a part of us too woven in to ever untangle. And when the world feels colorless, I still close my eyes and hear the echo you left behind.
Endings don't always have to be sharp. Some are soft, painted carefully with trembling hands, and still wish they could stay. We didn't end with anger or blame. We ended with long looks, half-formed words, and colors too heavy to carry any longer. I remember thinking, if this is the last page, at least let's color it with kindness. Your smile that evening was a fading gold. Your goodbye a soft shade of regret I wanted to hold on tighter. But real love, the kind that truly sees, knows when to loosen its grip, knows when to bless the leaving with the same tenderness as the staying. We painted our ending with gentle hands, letting the colors bleed carefully into the dusk. No storms, no torn pages, only the quiet art of letting go without shattering. Maybe the softest endings leave the deepest imprints. Maybe the colors we used to say goodbye are the ones we carry the longest. And so, in every gentle dusk, I feel the softness of our last colors wrapping around me still. That evening was a fading gold. Your goodbye, a soft shade of regret. I wanted to hold on tighter, but real love, the kind that truly sees, knows when to loosen its grip, knows when to bless
stayed long after the doors closed. We stood in the doorway of everything we'd built, the walls still humming with memories. There were no fireworks, no grand finale, only the soft glow of something once bright, settling into something we could no longer hold, but would always carry. You smiled with a tired kind of joy, the kind that knows what must be lost to be honored. I smiled back, holding the weight of every sunrise, every rainstorm, every unspoken word that colored the space between us. The last color we shared wasn't the brightest. It was the deepest, a soft dusk, a muted gold, a final painting on the canvas only we could ever see. Maybe the most beautiful colors are the ones that survive endings, the ones that keep humming in the quiet after. And somewhere inside me, that last color still breathes.
Not who we were when we first painted each other, but we carry the colors still, tucked between the pages of who we've become. Every mistake, every laugh, every goodbye we didn't know how to say, they're pigments woven into the canvas of our souls. I am not the same person you loved, and you are not the same person who loved me. But the colors we gave each other, they stayed. They soften the sharp edges of new beginnings. They deepen the quiet of new nights. And even when new stories unfold, your colors bleed into the corners, reminding me that beginnings are only possible because of everything we dared to create before. Carrying our colors forward, even when the shapes have changed, even when the names are different, because love doesn't always stay, but the colors it leaves behind become part of everything after. Maybe loving someone means becoming a palette for all the love that follows.
so I walk, painted by you, carrying our colors into every sky, still waiting to be touched.